Full Throttle Arizona. Full Throttle Arizona with Bruce St. James.
Hey, welcome back, and thanks for joining us on Full Throttle Arizona. I'm Bruce St. James, and we're going to continue to talk about all the cool racing things happening around Arizona and the region, plus get a chance to talk to some of the amazing personalities who've made Arizona racing what it is. Before we jump into our first guest, let's see. We've only got a couple races coming up, at least from my standpoint. We're racing out in Central Arizona Raceway this weekend, and then off to the Turkey Night Grand Prix in Ventura, California, which I have a feeling might come back with our guest. Speaking of him, let's join right now and welcome Billy Boat to the show. Billy, really appreciate you making some time.
Great, Bruce. Yeah, glad to be here.
I'll do a little bit of your background, but I'm going to let you tell your story. As someone growing up in Arizona and watching racing, it always made me really proud to see drivers winning championships, winning races, and sitting on the pole of the Indy 500, and next to their name it said Phoenix, Arizona. I was like, there's an Arizona guy. I like that. And I couldn't have been the only one that was cheering for you all those years. I start with that by saying, let's talk a little bit about how did a kid from Phoenix end up sitting on the pole of the Indy 500? I mean, that's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, it is. And really, I literally grew up at racing and literally grew up at Manzanita Speedway, right? I mean, my mom carried me through the grandstands. My dad raced there. I was 9 years old when Ron Schumann won the Western in 1995 when in my dad's car. So literally it was a progression of growing up there, and then I was aspiring to race there. And then, of course, once it gets in your blood, right, you want to aspire to the next level or to the highest levels. And for me, the highest level was Indy. So, it was just a lot of years of running Manzi and then getting an opportunity with, Manzanita, then Ascot, and then getting an opportunity with John Lawson, and then really just winning races. I think that's what helped kind of get me over the edge is we had some spectacular years in 94, 95, 96. And so I was lucky that my timing was right when the Indy Racing League came along, and, they were looking for guys with that background. And I was lucky enough to get an opportunity first with John Barnes and Panther Racing, and then AJ Foyt Racing, and was able to run 7 Indy 500s, which it was a great accomplishment. We're proud of, and a lot of great people, a lot of family behind me the whole time. But we had a good run.
Billy, I think about, that path because it feels like it's very different today. And I always wondered kind of what steered you, or you say the draw was IRL. IndyCar at the time was looking for drivers like you, because today it seems they all kind of go the stock car route. They all go towards NASCAR.
Yeah, and I think it's really kind of opportunity. And let's face it, it's all difficult today. It's all expensive, and it was expensive then, but it's definitely elevated in the expense level, and it takes money to have those right opportunities, have those right people behind you. So no matter if you're trying to be an IndyCar driver or trying to be a NASCAR driver, it takes the right opportunities and the right people and the right funding to make it happen.
Now, I got to tell you, I still feel we've known each other a while. I let people know that so they don't think I'm being too informal with you. I call you Billy, but it feels odd to call a grown man Billy. But there's a reason we call you Billy. Let's talk about your dad real quick.
All right.
Tell me a little bit about his background, which was also unbelievable here in Arizona, really part of the roots of racing.
Yeah, it's funny. We're the second generation Arizona natives. So my grandfather was born and raised in Arizona, and my grandmother. And my grandfather worked in the mines in San Manuel, and they migrated to Phoenix. And, my mom and dad met in Phoenix, and, he grew up racing various stuff, stock cars, jalopies around there, did some drag racing, and then had a sprint car in the early 70s that he raced with Ron Schumann and other guys. They ran CRA, they ran Manzanita. And so he definitely had a racing background, probably more of a, on the ownership side than the driver's side. But he definitely instilled it in his kids, and that's kind of what gave us the bug, And he always taught us, we were always building all of our own stuff. And that was the biggest thing that he taught us, I think, was we have to build our own stuff. We have to work on our own stuff. So, that what he really instilled that in us. And I think that carried on not only to me, but through Chad and everything that we've ever done.
Yeah, we'll talk about Chad in a minute as well. I think it's interesting you bring that up, because one of the things I was thinking, and one of the things I attribute to you, especially coming through the dirt ranks, was you didn't always follow the crowd. You did not do the same thing everybody else did. You were not the kind of guy that had off-the-shelf stuff. You through car owners, and I know your background as well, you guys always had some interesting things. Dare I say, pushing the boundaries, And I, for example, I love the offset sprint car is a great example of showing up at a racetrack with something nobody else had and making them basically rewrite the rule book because of you.
Yeah, and that kind of came from the success we had with the midgets when I was racing for John Lawson. The midgets were inch and a half offset or whatever they were at the time. And we always thought, well, what would the sprint car do if we offset it the same way and put coilovers on the front? And so we just built one. And Lawson was the type of guy that he was not afraid just to go out and build something. He'd build a lightweight crank for a motor, or, offset rear end, offset rear axle. And, it's crazy at the time, when you look back at the guys that I had around me at that time, I had guys like Keith Coons and Maury Gordon. Those were the guys that worked on my car that obviously have become, renowned in the industry, right?
Yeah.
Those are the guys that I was fortunate enough to have behind me at the time. So, we had a great, talented crew and definitely came up with some innovative things, not only just offset cars like that, but just the different setup stuffs we used to do that I think was one of the reasons we had so much success.
I know you've had a lot of success in business as well. I'll give a shout out to B&B Exhaust for you. That really kind of a big part of here up by Deer Valley Airport, and anybody that has a Corvette probably knows about your exhaust systems, or at least once a set of them. How's that? But I know that work ethic you talked about, you instilled in your son, Chad, who not only had a racing career, but now has an amazing career as a team owner, right? Is that what you would call that?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that when with Chad, and even with my dad, when my dad raced, had a great relationship with Chad, and Chad was always at the shop and working with my dad, so they developed that relationship. So my dad not only instilled that in me, but also in Chad, and we always worked on our own. He always worked on his own cars. We built a lot of our own cars. And so he learned from a young age that that's the way you had to do it. And as he was growing and progressing through the ranks, we did the same thing. And he likes, I think, that side of it, building the cars. He's very meticulous, super meticulous. I mean, his stuff is immaculate the way that he gets built. So I think that really helps drive the success that they've had with their racing program.
I don't know if you remember, but I certainly do. I was in the race for Chad's first sprint car race at Manzanita. I remember him being at the driver's meeting. I want to say he was 13 at the time. Does that sound right?
Yeah, probably 13.
And okay, as a dad, let's just be honest. There's going to be a lot of people watching this who say, 13 years old in a sprint car. What gave you the confidence that Chad could handle that?
Looking back on it, man, I was probably stupid. But, because literally you're bolting your 13-year-old in a 700 horsepower animal, right? And you're putting a push truck behind him and you're saying, okay, there you go. But obviously he had raced a lot up to that point, right? And he'd done well. He was had a lot of racecraft, had a lot of ability to control something like that. But still, it's pretty crazy when I think about it now. And even we'll talk about it. And he's, remember when you pushed me off until I was 13 in a sprint car, and said, go have at it. But the kids these days, and even back then, they have so much experience by the time they're that age that it's not like maybe when I was young that, you needed to be have a little more time in something else. But it's still crazy. 13 is still young, no doubt.
It's funny you say that. I was watching some old video popped up on YouTube about it was either an old Manzi race or old CRA race at Ascot, and they're doing the driver introduction, and it dawned on me, like, all the drivers had male pattern baldness. They were in their 40s or 50s. They had their kids standing next to them, and that's not what it looks like today.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, it's definitely a lot younger group coming in, and it's just kind of the trend that it's been for the last 10 years or so. But these kids that are coming in today have a lot of talent. I mean, I see it back here in North Carolina so much, and especially with the program that Chad has, where he's running. He's bringing these kids up from where they're 8, 9, 10 years old through junior sprints and mini sprints and midgets and even sprint cars now. So he's definitely got a great little training ladder, and they've had great success for sure.
Yeah. People that don't know, you spend most of your time now in North Carolina. I still think of you as a Phoenician. Maybe you still do as well. But you've got some grandkids back there, and I can understand why you would want to be near them. Is there a racing future there? Are we seeing any inklings of any of the grandkids wanting to jump in a race car?
It's funny. I haven't yet. And I make the opportunities. I got them some motorcycles and some other stuff that I try to get them as much motorized experience as you can. But you have to admit, being a racing parent is a big commitment, right? If you're gonna do it, it's a big commitment. So you have to be, the family as a unit has to be committed to doing it. So they are into a lot of different stuff, and we have a great time. And I still got, I probably got another half dozen that are under 4. So we still got plenty of time, Bruce.
Could go either way with them. Could go either way.
Yeah. Chad's got a couple girls that are coming up, and they're pretty feisty. So you never know.
I mentioned at the beginning that I'm going to be heading over to Turkey Night for the Grand Prix, and I don't know how you rank the races in your life, but I got to believe your dominance at Turkey Night there for a while has to rank pretty high for you.
Yeah, we definitely had a great run, at Turkey Night, winning 3 in a row at 3 different tracks. And, again, it was right in that time period at one of those things that going to help me get elevated to the next level in the sport. And got some great memories of that time and the time spent on the West Coast. And, definitely something that you cherish. Actually, it's kind of funny this year, Murray Gordon, my mechanic from that time, was still working for the Lawson Corporation up in California. They redid one of the 15 cars, and I guess it's going to pace the field at this year's Turkey Night. So that'll be a great little add-in for you. Come
on, we can't get you to come out and take a few hot laps in it? I mean, you look like you could jump right back in and get going. You got the helmets behind you. Let's go.
I do, yeah. I don't know if I got a suit that'll fit anymore, but
Listen, I really appreciate you spending time with us, and as an Arizonan, it was always awesome again to watch you representing Arizona and doing so well. And I don't know if I ever told you, but there was a lot of pride when they introduced the Indy 500 that year, and starting on the pole is Billy Boat from Phoenix, Arizona. That was a really special moment, I think, for a lot of us that especially watched you grow up racing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Arizona's always going to be home. Growing up there, spending 50 years of my life there, definitely, it's always going to be have a place in my heart. We love North Carolina too. It's great. It's very nice back here, and I think all my kids are back here now, so it's worked out well. But we do enjoy getting back to Phoenix.
Hear, hear. Thank you so much for your time, and wish you best luck. And I'll see you at a racetrack soon.
All right, sounds good, Bruce. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks again to our guest, Billy Boat. Awesome to be able to talk to somebody who was such a part of the fabric of racing here in Arizona. We'll continue to have great conversations with some of the amazing people who've made racing what it is here in the Grand Canyon State. Appreciate you spending time with us. Remember, you can find us and subscribe. How about the KTAR YouTube channel? That's a great way to find us. Hit that subscribe and like button. Leave a comment below as well. Let us know what you think of the show, and maybe somebody we should be talking to. We'll do it. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks for joining us here on Full Throttle Arizona with Bruce St. James.
Thanks for watching Full Throttle Arizona with Bruce St. James. Click the box to watch more from KTAR News and tap the button in the middle to subscribe.